It's time for the Bet Prep Top 5.
There it is. Look at that. Confetti. I guess that's technically a kazoo of some sort. Top 5. College football futures is what we have this weekend for you on Saturday and Sunday Bet Prep. So, Tom, we have your top 5 futures. We're going to go 5-1 here. And let's start in the Big Ten. You are liking the team that has represented the Big Ten in the playoff the last 2 years as its champion. You are looking for a three-peat for Harbaugh and company in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, I put this at 5 because I got it early at plus 210 when I thought there was real value there.
Nice.
I think Michigan, for the first time, is better than Ohio State on paper. And I thought last year Harbaugh was a year early. Like, I know everybody remembers that playoff loss to TCU, but I think that's going to help him this year. You know, when you look at transfers, it's great to get transfers, but Michigan got 2 big guys for their offensive line, 2 projected NFL, high draft picks that are coming in to help that line. I think the offense is going to be a little bit more explosive. Defense is still going to be good. Got to win at Penn State. That's going to be the big one. But if they get that game, I think they win the Big Ten.
Michigan, yeah, I look at it between Ohio State and Michigan. They are just both so incredibly talented at this point. And you know what? The easiest handicap, at least for me in the Big Ten, is Michigan has a game at home this year. And I know home field didn't matter last year when they went on the road into Columbus and took care of their business against Ohio State. You're right. I think it could very easily come down to, can Michigan, where, man, we talked about this with Wes Reynolds in the first segment. Tom, those first 9 weeks are as easy as any Power 5 team has it in the entire country. It's just going to be a matter of will the step up in the competition against Penn State in that 10th game of the season be too much for Michigan, which I don't think it will be.
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. I think it's always hard to go by schedule in the NFL. It's a little bit easier in college because
Agreed.
you know these games. So when you mentioned Michigan's early schedule there, that's a big reason for this bet. I don't see them getting tripped up, maybe at Michigan State, but they got so much more talent than the Spartans now. It's going to be those last 3 games at Penn State, at Maryland, Ohio State. That's going to decide how this bet turns out, I think.
Let's go to your number 4. Let's keep it in the Midwest. We'll go to the MAC. So, Tom, for this conference, it's a 2-horse race for me. It's between Toledo out of the West, and it's the team you like out of the East, and that's the Ohio Bobcats. Why do you like Ohio to win the MAC championship?
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. Those 2 teams met last year, and Toledo won 17-7 in the championship game. But Ohio was without their starting quarterback, Curtis Rourke, who's the top quarterback in the conference, in my opinion. So with all the returning starters, 15 returning starters, you get Rourke back. When you look at plus 280, I think they're by far the best team in their division. So I'm playing them plus 280, thinking they got a really good shot to get to that championship game. And if they do, you're not going to get plus 280 on the money line. So I'm with you. I think there's 2 teams in this conference that are above everyone else. And I just think there's too much value on Ohio with all the returning production at plus 280.
Would you take the Bobcats as well at about plus 120 to win the MAC East?
Yeah. Yep. Anything plus on them, I think is good value. Again, anything can happen. The MAC's always a crazy conference. Miami's pretty talented. But on paper, I think Ohio is the most talented and the deepest team in the MAC.
Let's go to the American Athletic next, a new look conference, of course. A lot of teams coming over from the Belt and CUSA. And a newcomer makes your list at number 3 to the American. And I am 100% with you on this one. Plus 450 on the Roadrunners of UTSA. I think they match up great with Tulane, which is what I think that matchup's going to be. I'm 100% with you on this one, Tom. But why do you like the Roadrunners? Year 1 in the American to take it down.
Yeah, it's really the number. I don't get the plus 430. I think they should be closer to like plus 225. You got the best quarterback in the conference, in my opinion, with Frank Harris. You got 17 returning starters, and that's kind of my formula when looking at these. Like, I think Ohio and UTSA both have the top quarterbacks in their conference. Those guys win close games. There's a lot of talent on this team. They play at Tulane in the season finale. But I think UTSA I like the conference schedule a lot. They don't play SMU. They don't play Memphis, two of the better teams in that conference. So I think they're going to be in great position going into that last game against Tulane.
No, I 100% agree with you there. And it's, to me, this is a 3-horse race in this conference. I know Memphis and Florida Atlantic are both 6-1, and then after that, it really falls off a cliff odds-wise. But it's Tulane, it's SMU, and it's the Roadrunners. And I'll take the team that I think is pretty darn even with everyone else. They don't even play SMU, and you mentioned it. They get Tulane the last week of the season. It could be back-to-back weeks that the Roadrunners and the Green Wave play each other. Could be in New Orleans both times, could be in San Antonio the following week, depending on whatever happens the final weekend of the season in New Orleans. All right, let's get to some win totals. And Tom, when I looked through the rundown tonight, I was very much enjoying where you went with these 2 win totals, going to two of the worst programs over the last few years, even though I can't say that about your number 1 because they made a bowl last year. But let's go to the Minutemen of UMass. Win total is 2. You think they're going over and getting to that 3rd win that has been very elusive to them over the last decade?
Yeah, and this is another one I got early at 1.5. I think they get at least 2 wins. So I like you at least getting the push here. They play Merrimack. Now, there's no gimmies for UMass, but they should beat Merrimack, right, at home. And then they got some winnable games. Arkansas State's a bad football team. New Mexico's a bad football team. I wouldn't be surprised if UMass wins 3 to 4 games this year. If you watched them late last season, the offense was terrible. They got some new quarterbacks there, but the defense was playing better under Brown, their new head coach. I think they get to 3 wins. I still like over the 2. 2.5, if it gets to 2.5, you're getting too rich for my blood. But 1.5 or 2, I'm down.
Don Brown in his second stint in Amherst as well, coached them when they were still in the CAA before they bumped up to the FBS level. All right, and then number 1, look, I had to remind myself mid-sentence here. Jim Mora Jr. had UConn in a bowl last year, and now their win total all the way up to 5 here, Tom.
This one really surprised me because I think UConn's headed in the right direction. They have depth at quarterback. Their starter got hurt last year. They bring in a transfer. The starter's coming back. They got 2 guys at quarterback. Jim Mora's built depth on that team. It's another thing I look at in college football is you're going to have injuries. So the reason I like UConn is they got 9 winnable games. I think their schedule isn't that bad. Listen, they're not going to win at Tennessee, right? But even the opener, NC State, they get NC State at home. Now, I think NC State's going to beat them, but that's week 1. The Wolfpack are replacing a lot of guys, going to a team that has a ton of returning production. That could be a tricky game. So I like UConn's schedule. I like where Jim Mora's got this team headed. I think they make a bowl for the 2nd straight season.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.